Hello, everybody. Tim here to talk about one of my most anticipated movies of 2017, and that is Spider Man Homecoming. So, if you guys know anything about me, you know that Spider Man is my favorite superhero of all time. I love Batman. I love Batman a lot, but Spider Man has always had my heart. Um, and I remember seeing that first Sam Raimi Spider Man movie with my grandpa in the theater. And ever since then, it's just been like Spider Man, Spider Man, Spider Man. So every time a new Spider Man movie comes out, I get very excited. Obviously, when he appeared in Captain America Civil War, I kind of pooped my pants a little bit. And so I probably like that movie just a little bit more than everyone else, just based on the fact that Spider Man is in it. And so obviously, I was really, really excited about Spider Man Homecoming. But at the same time, I wanted to, keep my expectations in check. After all, this movie is being co-made by Sony, who owns the rights to the character and is leasing them out to Marvel to make this movie within the MCU. So Sony still had some control over the movie. And while I liked the first Amazing Spider Man, it definitely wasn't great. And Amazing Spider Man 2 is awful. So to go from Spider Man 3 to the Amazing Spider Man to the Amazing Spider Man 2 is a pretty long run of movies. It's been 10 years. It's been over 10 years because it's been 10 years since Spider-Man 3 came out. So it's been 13 years since we had a really good Spider-Man movie. And I am here to say that we finally have another one. It's really good. It's really, really, really good, actually. And I might be biased because I love Spider Man so much, but I freaking loved this movie. They've Marvel and Sony together finally figured out what makes Spider-Man great. And it's not MJ problems. It's not the Uncle Ben stuff. And while that stuff is important, it's not vital to what can make the character so great. It's vital to the character, and the fact that it has happened to him is important, but it's a small part of a big picture, and they finally figured out what makes the picture great, and that is having him be in high school and getting the humor right. As much as I love those first two Sam Raimi movies, they're mostly serious movies. They're not like there's not a ton of humor throughout them. It's not like The Dark Knight, but they're not incredibly funny. And this movie is hilarious. Tom Holland is the first actor to portray Spider-Man that I think has gotten both Peter Parker and Spider-Man right, and that's hard to do. I thought that Tobey Maguire was a really good Peter Parker and an okay Spider-Man. And I thought that Andrew Garfield was a really good Spider-Man and an okay Peter Parker. Tom Holland has got it right. So that's obviously one of my big compliments is that Tom Holland is great in this movie. And you know who else is great in this movie? Michael frickin' Keaton is so good in this movie. This is the first villain in a Marvel Cinematic Universe film in a long time that I really, really liked. Like, I liked Ego in Guardians 2, but this guy he's awesome. And it's because it's Michael Keaton. I mean, if it was any other actor, I'd say, yeah, it was a good villain, but Keaton just brings something else to it. And I know that everyone's made the joke already, but he loves playing flying creatures. He's been Batman and he was Birdman and now he's Vulture. But he knocks it out of the park in this movie. And all the performances all the way around, from obviously Tom Holland and Michael Keaton, but Robert Downey Jr. for the few scenes that he's in, he's always great. Marissa Tomei, Zendaya, everybody in the movie is really, really good. And so that was a pleasant surprise that there wasn't that one actor that, you're like, oh, geez, like, okay, that was a weird scene. Like, that guy was randomly, like, there was none of that. I have a few minor complaints, but it's nothing too serious. I mean, my biggest complaint probably is I'm not used to Spider-Man's suit, this new suit. The suit that he has in the movie is really cool, and it eventually grew on me. Everything, like not the design of it, but just what it can do. It's very Iron Man-ish. And it took some getting used to at first, but once I got used to it, I found it quite enjoyable. There's some funny gags that they do with the suit. But I'm not used to that, so that was a little off-putting at first. But once I got over it, it was fine. And the only other complaint I have is that it starts to drag a little bit towards the end of its second act. But once the third act kicks in and it goes full gear, and it is awesome until the end of the movie. And speaking of the end of the movie, there's two post-credit scenes. The first one is fine. It doesn't really do anything to add to the movie that it's in, but it does something to set up a future movie, which most post-credit scenes do. But the end scene after all the credits is probably the best Marvel post-credit scene in easily since the shawarma. That's how funny it was. Easily since shawarma. So I think you guys will really enjoy that. But anyway, guys, I could go on and on and on about this movie, and I will be over the weekend, I'm sure, after I see it a couple more times. Me and Maggie, my fiance, are going to be doing a spoiler talk about Spider-Man coming up on the next episode of the Sunday Talks podcast. So until then, that's when we will hit more Spider-Man conversations. If you like listening to me ramble about Spider-Man, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and that way you can stay up to date with all my other movie reviews. And I'm going to give this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Great score, great score. Not perfect, but very, very close. It almost hit it. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Watch one of these other videos. I'm going to throw up my review for The Beguiled, and then I'm going to throw up last week's episode of the Sunday Talks podcast, where me and Maggie talked about the Oscars a little bit and what other movies we're looking forward to in 2017. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and have a good one.